Guys, it's Sam from Stray Gaming, and I'm doing a video on. I had one of our subscribers, Tegan, asked for some of the good starter lines to start out with, and what what I consider what I like, I guess, in World of Warplanes 2.0. Um, so when I was thinking about making this video, and I wasn't terribly sure because this is the problem with the new 2.0. A lot of these aircraft do not handle like they did from 1.9. uh, and some sort of I shouldn't say some ways the it's changed the meta of the game the way that was in 1.9. So yeah, the planes don't fly the same and all that kind of stuff. And I have a few games down the 2.0 and all that stuff. But we have fighters, multi roles, we have ground attack planes, and we have heavy fighters, and each have fill a certain role. And I don't want to blow any smoke up anybody's ass and say, hey, this is the best line and this is the one that you should be having, and blah blah blah. No, that's gonna come back and bite me in the ass. But what I'm gonna do is give you three lines that, in my opinion, or actually I give you four lines, in my opinion, that are very strong aircraft. And what I mean by strong is that they have several good aircraft in that line that are all around good, good aircraft. And if you play those, like I said, you're not going to be disappointed most of the time. Well, let's go to the tech tree. I'm only going to do this up to tier 8 because this is only as far as I am. I'm not going to, like I said, bullshit you and tell you that this is the best tier 10, this is the best whatever. I'm not that far up the line, so we're not going to go up that far. So, but we're going to start out with some real good, in my opinion, some of the low tier aircraft in this game are the Russians. The I-5s, I-15s, I-16s, I-16Is, all are really good aircraft, a lot of fun. These four right here. They're all turn and burn aircraft. Very fun, very, very, very fun. Yak 7's another one of those. Uh, Big firepower, carries rockets, kind of like a mini ground attack plane. Yeah. So these three right here, or these four right here, are if you're just starting out, wanting to learn the game, great turn and burn aircraft. These are a lot of fun at tier 1 through 4. So if that's what you're looking for when you're starting out with the game, just some real fun planes that do really well. Definitely these first four Russian fighter aircraft are fun. Now I'm going to talk about. We're going to start out. We're going to do the fighters first, and there is no doubt in this game, Japan probably has the best turn and burn type aircraft. These are the aircraft that are, they turn very well. That kind of, in that sense, the maneuverability is very good. Problem with these Japanese aircraft, I've already gotten up to the tier 8 on these J7W1, the Shinden, which I really like. These aircraft are very fragile. They burn fairly easily. They get a lot of damage to them. There's a video I'm playing the Shinden where I get my engine knocked out 3 times. This happens on most all these aircraft. They're very fragile aircraft. Great if you want to do, like I said, play the turn and burn kind of game. These are all really good aircraft. All the way up to at least the Shinden. They do what they're supposed to do. You can outturn most aircraft in the game with the Japanese, but you get shot, there's a good chance you're going to be set on fire. You're going to get modules damaged, a lot of modules damaged, and damaged and damaged and damaged. So if you can deal with that, the Japanese are, both these fighter lines are awesome for playing that turn and burn kind of game. Germany, they're more known for, at least their fighter lines are large caliber, more of the energy, zoom and boom. And then this is what I was talking about earlier about the game changing, with that kind of thing. So it's kind of been, these fighters have kind of, I don't know, a little bit of a limbo about how they react and how they handle. Compared to what they did in 1.9. So, and I'm not going to, like I said, this 2.0 is out, and there's going to be a lot of changes yet coming and all that stuff. So it's kind of hard to say point, exactly what you're looking for. But these fighters are not really turn fighters. Once again, this is more of an energy deal. Get up high, make some swoops, come down, and kind of the zoom and boom type play. Same way with their heavy fighters. USA, they have a little bit of everything. You know, from the multi-role to the heavy fighter to the regular fighters. This line for the P-51D, I mean, these are some pretty iconic aircraft. They do not have any sort of cannon. Almost all of it is machine guns. So lots of 50s. This line is probably one of the more, I shouldn't say difficult to play, but with the changes to the game, where cannons seem to be a little bit more prevalent, at least with the range and the knockdown power, these can be a little difficult because you have to be on a tail for quite a while to knock something down. Even with 650s, that doesn't get any better to all the way to the 10. Same thing. Multi-rolls, both these are good lines. Heavy fighters, P-38s, P-38Js. These are the big boom sticks. They got 37 millimeters with 450s. Once again, the meta has kind of changed with the game, at least with the heavy fighters. The UK, their fighter line, of course, the infamous Spitfire line, and of course their heavy line here with the bow fighters, mosquitoes. And these are all really good, sixes, fours, fives, and sixes tiers heavy fighters. I definitely do recommend those. All right, so just kind of an overview, a general overview of these fighter lines. But here is, okay, so I'm going to give you my 4 solid lines. The 4 lines that I think they're very solid aircraft. They have a lot of good aircraft in the lines, and they play very, and from what I've used them in game, these are the aircrafts I've flown in game a fair amount, very effective in the new game mode, right? So things have changed in the game mode. And I'm thinking, from what I've seen of the play and all that stuff, you're seeing a lot more of the multi-roles kind of coming into their own in this game, where maybe so much as like the heavy fighters used to be kind of the top tier meta in the game, where they would hover at high altitudes and take advantage of their boost and all that kind of stuff. But now with this kind of game mode where ground targets are also involved, not only fighting other aircraft, I'm seeing the multi-roles playing a bigger part. They're more maneuverable, but they carry almost the same amount of ordnance as well as same kind of firepower with their cannons. So with that said, let's go back to the tech tree. And I'm going to start out with what I consider a very strong line for the multi-role on the American side. And that is the one with the Corsairs. Specifically, there'll be 3 of them in this line. And these I've found to be very effective in this game mode. They are, obviously with the multi-role, able to carry a fair amount of ordnance. They have 4 U4, all rockets, and they have 4 20 millimeter cannons. They're not the most maneuverable, but they do carry a very good, very significant firepower, and they do carry actually a large amount of ordnance. Not only rockets, but he can also mount bombs with them as well. So I'm finding this multi-role line, the one with the Corsairs in it, because you got 3 of them in this line, and the F4Fs, I believe the F4Fs also mount rockets. Yes. So I'm finding these aircraft to work very well in this new mode. Very solid line. There's a lot of good aircraft in this line. So if you're looking for a multi-role solid line, definitely this Corsair line. I definitely think this is a very good line. We're going to go back to now, and I'm just started down the attack aircraft, but in my opinion, if you're playing attack aircraft on this line, probably the most solid, a very solid line is the Russian line. Probably more so than the German line, just because of the sheer amount of ordnance that these can pack. You get rockets and bombs, plus a fair amount of high caliber forward firing cannons. I would definitely pick, if I had my choice to go back, I would probably pick the Russians right now as a very solid line for the attack aircraft. Now for the heavy fighter role, I would, in this situation, or in my pick right now, I would still probably go with the German heavy fighters. They have so many good aircraft in this line. The BF-1s, the ME-410s, the Foch 57s, these are all really good aircraft, and they all lead up to a very good heavy fighter in the HG-3. So if you're interested in the heavy fighters, I would I'd still at the juncture, I would still probably go with the German line being a very strong, has a lot of good aircraft in that line. If you're interested in going down that. And finally, we're going to go to the light fighter, or essentially the fighter, as they call it in here. I guess I call it light fighters, which would be the UKs. Like I said before earlier, the Soviets have, and there's gems in every one of the lines, and at every tier there's always a gem. You can go to the Russian lines, you can find the Yak 7s. You can go to the Japanese line and find, A6M is very good at its tier. But in my opinion, just an all-around great fighter is this with the Spitfires. You end up with 4 of them in this line, starting at tier 5. This is an all-around good aircraft. It's so solid, it's not even funny. It was solid 1.9, and these are just as solid as they are in 2.0. Great maneuverability, great speed, good boost, very good firepower for what tiers they are at. So yeah, that 5 through 8, at least in the fighter category, I would, if I was going to pick, go down a line, it's pretty hard to beat the Spitfire line for 2.0 right now. Of course, there's some Soviets, there's some Japanese that'll outturn them maneuverability wise, but just for sheer, they do everything real well. They might not be the best, but they do everything real well. The Spitfire line for the UK it would be my choice. Now, of course, I've showed all these, what I've considered good solid lines, but if you're going to be going down any of these lines, you have to be kind of thinking, not everybody's wants to play the ground attack role. Not everybody wants to be a light fighter. Not everybody wants. So you have to find your niche when you're playing these planes. What works for you, and of course that just takes time. Once you find that okay, I do pretty well on multi roles. Maybe I need to work on the multi roles, and that's kind of what you should be leaning toward. Same way with light fighters, heavy fighters and whatnot. My biggest, I guess my number one recommendation when you're doing finding out what you're going to do and what lines you're going to go down is make sure you understand pilot skills and equipment, and that has a lot to do with how you're going to be playing your plane. You're going to set your pilot up. If you're playing, say, the multi-role, the F4U4 or the Corsair line on this line, you're going to want you're going to be kind of leaning toward the more you're going to be building this thing, you're going to be equipping it for more survivability than maneuverability, those kind of things. That goes along with the pilot skills too. Matching pilot skills with what kind of aircraft you're flying, very important. Where if you're flying, say say someone on the Spitfires, you're going to be flying this more along the lines of maneuverability over survivability, or one of the Japanese aircraft. These airplanes are far more, you're working for the maneuverability over the survivability. Same way with your pilot skills on these aircraft. You want those to match the aircraft. That's one of the most important things, at least in my opinion, in this game about when you're working with these aircraft, is that you want to make sure you're equipping it right and getting your pilot's skills for what type of aircraft you're flying. High maneuverability. Of course, you want everything equipment-wise and pilot-wise to match that. So if you're understanding my rambling here, so hopefully that's going to help you out, Tegan. At least in my opinion, up to tier 8, the four solid lines, 4 lines that have a lot of good aircraft in them, at least in my opinion, and for 2.0. And like I said, this could all change depending on, once again, what Wargaming does and how they change it. So hope that answered you guys' questions, and I will be bringing out some more stuff a little bit later, guys. Thanks.